2025 70.3 Western Mass taking place June 8th. Couple of pictures rolling around here. This is going to be exactly what you're going to experience on race day. A little bit of neighborhood riding, definitely neighborhood trail running, and that is that riverway, which we'll be addressing in a second. This is our event schedule, but I wanted to back up briefly out here because Western Mass does have 45 qualifying slots. It also carries 25 additional women for try slots. All right, so this is our event overview, our event schedule here, Friday, June 6th. Things check off with athlete check-in, timing chip pickup taking place from 2 to 7 p.m., and then athlete briefings taking place 3 and 5 p.m. as well. Saturday, June the 7th, athlete check-in again, 9 to 4 p.m. You will get your timing chip there. Mandatory bike check-in takes place 10 to 5 with athlete briefings happening noon and 2. Race day transition opens 4:30 a.m., closes 5:45 a.m. Race start happens at 6 a.m. Um, there is a little bit of a distance you need to travel to from the transition to the swim start, so keep that in mind on race day. Make sure you plan that into your logistical tracking and your logistical planning on race day. Award ceremony does take place at 3 p.m. if you are trying to get one of those slots out here. The course. Our course is classified as a river swim, a hilly bike, which you'll find out why in a minute, a rolling run course, average high air temperature in the 75-degree area, low temperature in the 55-degree area, average water temp 67 degrees-ish. So based off of that, I would plan to be a wetsuit or bring a wetsuit if you have one, and I would also just be keeping track of the water on in the days and the weeks leading up to the race to see if you do need to travel with a wetsuit here. Also, high temperatures. Just because it does say 75 doesn't mean it won't be 85 or something similar there. So make sure you are planning on a hot race, and if it's the temperature like this, kind of ideal temperature range, then happy days. All right, this is our swim. So as we are talking here, this is our finish right over here, and this is our start. Obviously, this is a down current swim over here, so a little less technical than you want it to be. Because of that, keep in mind that you will have more trouble breaking away from people than if it is a lake swim or ocean swim. And with that, this first little outward jut into the river here, it is going to be a little less technical than you think out there. Just if you wanted to kind of stay safer, make sure you are targeting a little further out to the right, but it's probably going to be a gentle slide out into the river anyways. Once you're out here, it's pretty straightforward, technically and wordly. It's a downriver swim. What I would do is try to swim your race, and if you find that you're able to catch up to people and have them work a little for you, that's great. If you find that that you are swimming a little too low with your effort out there on race day, don't be afraid to go around to the next group and find feet on the next group ahead. This is going to be a big effort interval right here. Instead of tracking things like you normally would, just I would really go off of RPE for the swim and really be honest with yourself and see how hard you're going out there on race day. Most technical bit is going to be the bit where you slide into the finish line right there. Again, same thing when we targeted outwards a little bit further on our way out. We're going to target a little short here just so we do not miss it. I doubt that you will, but that is the surefire way to not miss it, is to target to the left of that swim finish on race morning. Now our bike, looking at our site over here, our bike course is not posted. Luckily for us, they have bike course maps that have been posted on some other areas. This is our bike course right here. Aid stations taking place right here, here, and here. So there are 3 options. There is mortal hydration at each of these stations. There's also going to be a couple other things. Make sure you read the athlete guide for that. Athlete guide is posted, by the way. This is our bike course. Mapped out a little differently. It will zoom out a little bit. That's a little bit of a mistake, but it doesn't really affect the whole overarching concept that we are going to talk about out here. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the course is pretty much divided up into 2 separate areas. Area number 1, you're going up. Area number 1, you're going down. Little net downhill for you there. There and there. But it does play out a little bit different than that. Going to the software here, looking at our typical averaged weather out here on race day, the wind, and this is the exact same course map, the wind is going to be going this direction to start, and then it's going to switch this direction, hopefully on race day. What that means for you is, switching back over here, you're going to really experience tailwinds probably right around this section right here. As you progress around the course out here, your speed should slowly be increasing as you progress through the second half of the bike here. Looking at specifics for you, and then we'll go back to the elevation map one more time here. Looking at the specific power plan for an individual out here, I'm going to take speed away because it gets a little noisy, and just know that it gets a little faster on the second half here. I want you to watch the cyclist on the bottom right here as we rotate through, and I'll go on the map so you can see a little bit better. As we rotate through, you can see we have a headwind to start. We have a nice tailwind section right here, which is going to be ideal for most people. And then we're going to hang a left out here, and then we are going to experience usually crosswinds and especially headwinds out here. Rolling up the major hill on course out here. We're going to turn a couple of times, and after we turn north, then the wind does shift a little bit. When that happens, this section right here is going to surprise a couple of people. There's going to be some unexpected hills, so this is going to be a great opportunity for you to kind of leapfrog some people or just find some people napping out there, right? Clawing a couple of seconds back during this section, and now we are heading home here. This is the more technical bit of the course, and we're going to zoom in a little bit out on this course just so it's a little bit easier to see. You can really see that there is a ton of technical bits out here. So just to put it into perspective, the major turns on course over here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have a couple in there. That one doesn't really exist. And 12, 13, 14. So we have a lot of turns that are actually really turns out here. What that means for you is a couple of different things. When you are going on this section out here, make sure you are very careful exploding out of all these corners out here. Very common for athletes to hit the apex of that corner, stand up, stomp on the pedals, and you might find yourself crit riding style, exploding out of those corners. Make sure you count. Make sure you're keeping track of your matches that you are burning. If you do find that you are really exploding out of these corners uncontrollably, you are going to pay for it later on the run. So make sure you are monitoring that on race day, and it's not all happy days and just really putting the hammer down on the way home, just because you should have increasing speed on the way back. Also, we've marked out our aid stations out here. Hopefully I can here we go. I can zoom out for you for our 2,800 feet of elevation gain out here on race day. Backing up, we're going to talk about power briefly. Hopefully you can see here that the power, the bars out here, they steadily increase as you go up. Obviously, we're going to have a major hike when we go up the big hill out here, and then the power does steadily decrease. It's slight. To put that into perspective for you, this athlete's going to be holding 196, 184, 190, so it just steadily drops as you go back to that transition area on race day. Time analysis here. Time analysis, if you decrease your drag slightly on this course, it's going to net you 26 seconds, so a good course to improve your drag. Power, if you increase it by 1%, you're going to save 46%. Another good course to think about improving your power. Weight, you are going to save about 19 seconds, and your rolling resistance out here, if you improve it a little bit, you're going to save 10 seconds. So this is a course where optimizations in all categories really have the potential to have a great impact on race day. So for me, on this course, I would be looking at drag, I would be looking at power, and I would actually be looking at weight a little bit more on this course than some of the others. Going to save you 130 overall. If you do increase that rolling resistance a little bit, you're going to get a little bit more out there. So these are the three categories that I would really be focusing on leading up into the race, but that is, again, just personal preference for myself. Zones out here. Zones, this is going to be what you're typically going to expect out here. A lot of time in zone 3, a lot of time in Z4, but there's also a healthy amount of time in these sections. That's because of the nature of the up and the down section. If you're really driving the downhills, this is going to actually be moved to zone 3 a little bit more out here. So again, just play it by ear and what you are going to do for you. This is straight from the athlete guide here. This is our run course. This is not like the bike course. We do have a 2-loop section down here before you head back in. So you're coming from that transition area. You're coming down the lollipop stick. You are running around once. You're running around twice. And then you are heading home to complete that 13-mile journey out here. what that looks like for you, aid stations marked out for you so there's no confusion out here. I don't know if this one's going to be double-sided and this one's going to be double-sided. I'm assuming not. So that's why we have an additional one here. And if that's the case, this one is not an aid station on the way back. So all of the aid stations are listed here. You can see very, very clearly what you're going to experience. What is not very clear out here for you is the little lollipop out here. I like this one. I'll back up for a second. I know I'm jumping around all over the place, but I'll back up very, very briefly here. So the first couple sections out here, it's kind of like city running. And then when you get down to the lower section of our course, the lollipop, which you're doing 2 times out here, it kind of switches. You're on a path, you're in neighborhoods, you're kind of hidden, you're shaded, you're out in the open. It's kind of all over the place out here. When we look at that from an elevation standpoint, I'm going to try to highlight the circle for you out here. So this is about what you're going to get on race day out here. Each of this a little bit shorter than that, but about 205 feet of elevation gain. If you think back to the very beginning here, during these pictures out here, the run is just like that, very, very good representation of what you're going to get. It's typical neighborhood running. It's typical path running. There's going to be trees. There's going to be stuff. If it is raining and not the best out there, super windy, whatever, right? You are going to have periods where you're super not shaded. You are kind of shielded from the elements, but you're also going to have periods of time where you're wide open to them, and you're going to have to really pay attention to that. If you think back to our wind is coming at about this direction by the time you're going to get out there, at least modeled. If that's the case, this section right here is going to theoretically be all headwind, especially this section here. So again, that's a great opportunity for you to leapfrog some people and, find some people napping or just mentally down on themselves. This section down here, right, you might not experience a full tailwind. There's a lot of twists and turns. There's going to be a lot of things blocking the wind, that kind of stuff. So this is really a runner's course down here. On the way back home, let's unzoom that. On the way back home, it's going to be the exact opposite of what you did. You're going to return back to kind of that city running. You're going to be on the couple of trails out here. You're going to return back to the major areas. So most people have experienced that before on race day. Also, just keep in mind running along the water out here, you do open yourself up to the elements again. So if it's really windy, that's going to be a really windy part of course. This is going to be one of the most challenging parts of the course for you or one of the best courses for you. We do have 670 feet of elevation gain about here, so not a throwaway course at all. It's going to be a little challenging. Best advice for you on the run course is to watch your nutrition and most importantly, watch your pacing. And what I mean by that is we have a lot of ups and downs mixed all over the place out here on our run course. If you are, thinking back to the bike, exploding out of the corners on the bike, you are likely going to be exploding and your effort's going to be all over the place on these hills. The most successful runner on race day is going to be the one that can maintain these, maintain yourself, maintain your pace and efforts and all that good stuff, running uphill and downhill, okay? So I would be training that now if possible. If you live in an area where it's, kind of East Coasty and you are running up and down all over the place, you're going to be set for this run course. If you're kind of West Coast, you're going to have to figure out ways to kind of change the terrain a little bit to kind of match the up and the down and experience some undulations more so than where you're at. And just start doing that probably now here. The race is coming up in June, so not a whole lot of time to get ready for that. So that is 2025 70.3 Western Mass out here. If you need any advice or tips or tricks leading up to the race, please make sure you reach out. Contact info is down below. Of course, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and I wish you guys the best of luck this year at the 2025 edition. Good luck.